Hello everyone, so in this recap video we are going to look at a small scale example of sustainable farming in an LIC, and the example that we've studied is Makueni in Kenya, a rural area relatively isolated about 200 kilometres southeast of Nairobi, eastern Kenya, with a population of approximately 885,000 people. So why do they need a sustainable small-scale appropriate approach to farming? Well, the area does receive relatively high temperatures, but more importantly, it has variable rainfall, which leads to the water flow availability in the area to not be consistent, and it impacts the ability of the farmers to have reliable yields in their crops. So a number of strategies were included in this project that was run by the Makueni Food and Water Security Programme, set up by two non-governmental organisations, Just a Drop and African Sand Dam Foundation. So let's start with the sand dams. So sand dams were built in a number of villages, and as the water is trapped behind the dams, the water filters through the sand, and not only can the farmers and the villagers access the water, extract it from where it's trapped behind in the sand dam, but it filters the water and therefore increases the water quality. So they've got reliable water, but also reliable clean water to use for their farming. Another part of the project was to train farmers in better, more sustainable farming techniques. So here we have one of my farmers, clearly represented by his fork and farming hat, and they were trained in more appropriate methods. So we're going to put a light bulb here to represent the new knowledge, and as a result, consequence was greater yields in their crops, therefore providing for families, increasing food security, but also increasing the availability of excess crops to be able to take to market and trade, etc. And then lastly, as part of this project, we had a programme of afforestation, so the planting of trees. And this had numerous benefits. The roots held down the soil and reduced the risk of desertification. The leaves dropping from the trees would help add natural nutrients to the soil. The crops were provided with shade, shelter from the trees, which enabled greater yields from the crops. So a fantastic strategy to include. So you can see that all the techniques here have been appropriate, so if anything went wrong with the trees or the sand dams, the local people can be trained and they know how to improve it and fix it. So it's appropriate for this location. Now, has it been successful? Well, let's talk about all the successes. Yes, it has been very successful. Firstly, the amount that the farmers are producing in terms of the yield, the crops, has increased, as already discussed. Fantastic. The next thing that has increased is the life expectancy of the villagers due to access to clean, safe drinking water and greater amounts of nutritious available food, such as increased yields in cassava, which we saw in the pictures when we looked in our lesson, combined with the fact that the access to clean water, etc., has led to a decrease in the amount of waterborne diseases, which also links to life expectancy. And then lastly, because we've introduced these new techniques, it has meant that the time people are spending collecting water or spending time in the fields has reduced. Children, for example, have been able to go to school, and it has increased literacy rates of those in the rural areas. So a fantastic project that is an example of small-scale sustainable farming in Kenya. reasons why it was needed, what was done, and then the positive outcomes of the project.